transition, staying clean after treatment. So after my time of going through recovery, I'd now been in a program for nearly 3 years. So the program had actually now become part of my identity. But there came a time where I now needed to become independent and start to live as a responsible young adult. But leaving the program actually left me feeling a little bit like sad, because I was giving up something which gave me that feeling of feeling secure and having a new life. I think when I first made the transition out, I was starting to wonder why I was feeling so depressed, that I was starting to leave a lifestyle that was so negative behind. Shouldn't I be feeling so happy and excited about what the future was to behold? But what was happening through the transition, if we take time to understand what happens in the transition of a young person when they go from primary school to high school, the same transition from high school to university, the same transition from prison out to community, from rehab out to community, it leaves that feeling of awkward, something's different. What is changing? The identity is changing. And although they're leaving a negative past behind, there's still a grieving process that needs to happen. So it's actually okay to cry and let that process go and move on into the future. Eventually, when I found my feet, I realised that living at home with my parents, now we all had different standards, and having all adults in the house, I knew it was time for me to move out. I moved out of home, and for the first time I could prove myself responsible to my parents. Because you see, they had remembered the person I was, and although I had changed, nothing really in their world had changed. So there had to be that time where I had to earn their trust back, rightfully so. But as I moved into a house and I began to get my life back together and prove myself responsible, get a job, after 9 months, I went on to actually go into my first relationship, and today we've been married for just over 7 years, and we've got 2 young children. But I can tell you the transition out was probably one of the hardest times, and the time that I actually felt the most vulnerable to going back to my past. And during this time when people are coming out, and hence why I'm looking at setting up permanent accommodation for women that are transitioning out of prison, because I understand the complexity of leaving the past behind and embracing a brand new future. And so we are setting up an accommodation to help in that transition process, to help the women to learn that they can have a better future, that we can develop their self-esteem. Self-esteem is what we do, not what we have built into them. Speak words of life and bring them into a whole new network. Because if somebody did it to me, then why shouldn't I extend my hand and do it for other people? The turning point really came for me in my recovery when I learned this, that life was not all about me and what I could get. The way that you break the back of drug addiction and drug use is to teach the person to go out and serve somebody less. Because the way you break the back of selfishness is go out and do something selflessly. And that became the turning point for me. And today, my husband and I, we go about intentionally seeking to build drug-free people and communities in the hope of a better tomorrow. And every day we are reaching and we are working to touch people's lives, because both of us have a story of restoration, and we never forget the place we come from, because we can rejoice that we got a second chance. So when we look at transition, we can have a look in closing that the way that somebody transition is that they can come and get connected to a group, a counsellor or a support network, throwing somebody out and saying, now go and survive. You see, as human beings, we are designed for relationship. So the bridge of leaving the past to the future is a period called loneliness. And it's necessary, because until you've built that relationship, you have to walk that season. And I think that has to be one of the key issues of people coming out of their past and into their future, is they can't deal with the isolation and the loneliness. But if we can connect them into a group, counsellor, support network, we're doing them the right thing to give them that sense of great belonging. They need consistent follow-up and friends. And we need to, as we've already discovered, we need to understand the attributes of what makes a good friend. And sometimes sitting down through the groups that I run at the prison and other places, we do a little chart that says what makes a good friend, what makes a good partner. And they can begin to reflect then, am I hanging around those that I want to? You see, number 3, we need to teach these people that they can live again, that they can dream again. Because I think one of the key things to broken lives is broken dreams. Because if you sit down and go around a circle, and I've asked many girls all the time, we're going to play 2 truths and 1 lie. And when we get to the point of the truth, and we all think that it's a lie, they say, well, I was a state swimmer, broken dream. I was a state athlete, broken dream. I was married, broken dream. We need to teach these people they can live again and have another dream and find their purpose. And what was meant to harm and bring tragedy to their life can actually be turned right around and be used to help other people. Number 3, have something to live for. It's time to dream again. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a vision. Number 4, keep busy and focused. Because if they've got too much time, trouble. Okay, fill up their timetable, get them busy, get them connected, whether it's working, volunteering, going to school, study, or internship. Keep them busy and give them that sense of achievement. Resilience today is the big word in personal development. The program I run in the prison is a personal development program. Personal meaning you, development meaning improvement, you improving yourself. The quickest way to teach somebody that they can have improvement in their lives is to teach them resilience. Resilience means bouncing back from adversity. So if you can bring in an exercise, and we usually do it through training and physical education in there, and often I'll say to the girls, we're going to do 200 sit-ups today. They go, no, we're not. I said, yes, we are. They said, no, we're not. I said, okay, let's begin. We do circuit. And by the end of the 1 hour, they've done 200 sit-ups. I said, I told you you could do it. And if you can get that sense in them of keeping busy and focused and having that sense of achievement, if they can do it in one area, then they'll begin to believe in themselves and say, well, hang on a minute, I can do it in another area. And give them that sense of achievement and purpose. Number 5, encourage self-care. And again, self-esteem is not what we have, it's what we do. And so one of the things that I found really helped me in my transition is I actually went off to TAFE and I did a beauty course to build my self-esteem. I went off and I went on a food plan to help me, to educate me on the right foods to eat, taking a course of vitamins, getting back into my running, getting a trainer, doing all the right things, getting connected into my local church that would feed me spiritually and keep me accountable and teach me about service and volunteer and helping the community, all played a part in building the person that I was to become. Number 6, if your teenager uses drugs or alcohol again, it doesn't mean automatic addiction, because relapse can actually be part of the recovery. But sometimes families or youth workers working with those who are addicted to drugs and they relapse kind of begin to think, is this person trying to pull a joke on me? No, it's part of, it can be their learning process to letting go of their past and embracing the future, so long as they learn from their mistake. If they stay in it, that is a problem. But if they do it and they say, I feel really bad about that, you can sit down and say boundaries, strategies, support group, and come back to that foundation of connect. And as long as we've got that foundation of connect and we understand, we build self-esteem, have family time, boundaries, etc., we're going to be able to build drug-free families and communities. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take all of us to put our hand up and say we're going to put our hand up to make a difference, because together, I believe, we will.